How's it going, everyone? This is Soul Singed here, and welcome to my weekly video on battlebots. For those of you who aren't familiar with what this is, every week when the new episode of battlebots comes out, I give my predictions on who's gonna win each fight. Then I watch the episode, and then I give my thoughts on each fight. So there will be spoilers. So if you haven't seen the episode yet and you don't want me to spoil the fights, then click away from this video. So the first match, we have Copperhead versus Gigabyte. I'm gonna have to go with Copperhead on this one. If I can draw, I'm gonna draw a circle. Mostly because full body spinners are so sporadic, and I feel like Copperhead has a potential to just back them into a corner. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Copperhead. Sub-Zero versus Jackpot. Jackpot is a new team. We don't know much about them. And Sub-Zero, they've competed the last few years. Haven't necessarily been that good, but they really seem to have it dialed in this year, so I'm going to go with Sub-Zero. Gemini versus Uppercut. I'm not a fan of multi-bot configurations, so, because to me, there's lack a lot of power, so I'm going to have to go with Uppercut. Beta versus Rotator. Ooh, it's a tough one. I definitely feel like this one's going to go to the judges because of how durable Beta is. But ultimately, I feel like Rotator is going to get that win. Tantrum versus Valkyrie. I'm giving it to Valkyrie. They're another one of my favorite bots, so yeah. And they've looked really impressive the last couple years, or especially last year. Big Dill versus Adam 94. Don't know much about either of them, but I'm going to go with Adam 94, but really that one could go either way. I don't know much about either team. Mostly picking Adam 94 because generally spinners do better than grapplers and grabbers, so I'm going to have to side with Adam 94. And then the main event, Hypershock versus Gruff. I'm going with Hypershock, and I feel like this is how this fight is going to go. It's going to go the full 3 minutes because Gruff is a very, very durable bot. However, Hypershock is very fast and speedy, so I'd imagine what's going to end up happening is Hypershock is going to box rush from the get-go, just knock them all over the arena, ranking up a ton of control and aggression points and all that, dominate the fight, and then they'll go to the judges and they'll side with Hypershock because he'll just dominate the fight. Though I do feel like Gruff is going to withstand the entire fight, I don't think Gruff will be able to do enough to actually win them. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. So this was a pretty bizarre episode, to say the least. In terms of my predictions, I went 3 and 4. I got 3 right and I got 4 wrong. So let's just get straight into this. Copperhead versus Gigabyte. That was honestly one of the funniest matches I've ever seen because Gigabyte must be going through some deja vu because the exact same thing happened to them last season. Their self-rider broke off and their shell went flying off, and Copperhead had a pretty impressive win. Sub-Zero versus Jackpot. Jackpot does look like it has some potential, although Sub-Zero was dominating the fight, they just kind of died. So it looks like Sub-Zero still has some reliability issues, and I'm still not quite sold on Jackpot yet. Uppercut versus Gemini went about how I expect. I mean, sure, you may have 2 bots out there, but they're half the weight, half the power, so it's not going to take too much to really destroy them. That's why I'm really against multi-bot configurations, just because they tend to be so much weaker. Beta versus Rotator, one of the most controversial matches of this season. And I feel like Beta did win. I mean, Rotator didn't really do much. Now, yes, Beta never fired their hammer, but that's actually brilliant on Beta's part because they didn't want to fire that hammer and hit their blade and have it destroy their hammer. Now, my thing is, they had a legit reason to not use the hammer. And of course, they just pushed Rotator around the entire time, controlled the match, far more aggressive than Rotator. So yeah, I feel like they did deserve the win. Even though they never used their weapon, they had a legitimate reason for not using it. So I feel like they deserved the win. Valkyrie versus Tantrum. They both looked pretty impressive, and I really thought Tantrum was going to pull it off. But I guess they pushed it so hard, and those hits they did take from Valkyrie probably just weakened them down, and they just kind of died halfway through the match. And since Valkyrie was still moving, they lost the weapon, but since they were still moving, they got the KO. Adam 94 versus Big Dill. Wasn't super familiar with either of them, and Adam 94 looked like it potentially could be a top tier bot. Maybe not this season, but still a competent bot, but they just really lacked out there. Their driving wasn't that great, their weapon barely spun, and Big Dill just dominated the match up until they got stuck. And since they weren't able to get them unstuck, they just called the match, went to the judges. And since Adam 94 did basically nothing and Big Dill dominated the fight, Big Dill got the win. Now, Hypershock versus Gruff. Now, I probably should have taken into consideration Hypershock's lack of reliability. They'll come out, looked like an S tier bot, one match, and then the next match come out and just fall apart. Though I figured at this point they would have dialed in all the reliability issues and it would have been a reliable bot. But it looks like that's not the case, which of course they were building it. Supposedly they were building it the day of the fight. So maybe the rest of the season they'll do good. I knew Gruff would make it through the match. I knew Gruff was a reliable bot. But I didn't think Hypershock would break down like that or that quickly. But as soon as I saw that back plate start coming off, I knew it was done for Hypershock. And also another rare occasion of flames actually being useful. Gruff has two pretty massive flamethrowers that have a pretty impressive reach. I mean, most of the time flames don't do too much damage, but Gruff was actually able to use their flamethrowers for more than just aesthetics, which was really impressive. So yeah, that just about wraps up my thoughts for each of these matches. And yeah, I don't have much else to say. Uppercut is probably one of the best ones we've seen make their season debut. And yeah, that just about wraps up this video. Peace.